Amber and Legolas, riding World Dressage Federation Level 1 Test 6. A. Enter at the working walk. Proceed down center line to X. X. Halt salute. Proceed working walk. C. Track to the right. MXK, change rein, lengthening the stride, allowing the horse to stretch forward and down. K, working walk. A, turn down center line. At L, leg yield right, arriving at the rail between R and M. M to H, working walk. H to E, shoulder 4. E to F, change rein on diagonal. A, turn down center line. At L, leg yield left, arriving at the rail between S and H. H to M, working walk. M to B, shoulder 4. B to K, change rein on diagonal. Between K and A, develop working trot. F to M, lengthen the stride. M to H, working trot. H to E, shoulder in. E to F, change rein. Continue working trot to K. K to H, lengthen the stride. H to M, working trot. M to B, shoulder in. B to K, change rein. Continue working trot to A. A, circle left 20 meters 2 times, allowing the horse to stretch forward and downward. Sit to the trot in the stretch, then rise and develop the working trot. FXH, change rein, continue working trot to C. C, circle right 20 meters 2 times, allowing the horse to stretch forward and downward. Sit to the trot in the stretch, then develop working trot. C to B, working trot. B, circle right 20 meters, developing the working canter in the second half of the circle. B to A, working canter. A, circle right 20 meters twice. Circle 1, working canter. Circle 2, transition through the trot to the walk. KXM, change rein, working walk. Between M and C, develop working trot. E, circle left 20 meters, developing the working canter in the second half of the circle. E to C, working canter. C, circle right 20 meters twice. Circle 1, working canter. Circles 2, transition to the working trot. FXH, lengthen stride in the working trot. And change the rein. Continue in the working trot. Between P and F, working walk. A, down the center line. X, halt, salute. Dismount, stand quietly for a moment. You may reward your horse, take the reins over the horse's head, and leave the arena leading the horse at its shoulder. Amber did a great job on that. Once again, I want to thank her for helping us out here, as we had to just once or twice to run through this and then try to run in here and do it. So she did a great job. And we're going to take a look at it again here and talk about the test a little bit. So this is test 6 in the foundation level, which would also be our championship show. So this is what one would be riding at the end of the year in the championships. Now, it's still a foundation level, so to give you some ideas on why I did certain things in the test. Now, you notice we never are skipping gaits. We're never jumping up to the canter from the walk, things like this. We're always working the horse through all 3 gaits and downwards through all 3 gaits in all of our transitions at this level. So it's quite a nice entrance here. So this is the first test that is preparing us for the working level in which the horse will start entering in the trot. And this is the first time that we've put 2 halts in the test. So there's a halt in the beginning of this test for the first time. You can see how it gets a little tense at the camera there. And once again, these would all be things like any other dressage test that would count down a little bit. A good stretch in the walk here. I always like to start these tests with these young horses. We want to go right to the stretches in the beginning to really get them moving forward and come back to them. So good stretching there. Technically speaking, I'd like to see him stretch just even a little bit deeper and get a little more overstepped. And this is a horse that this is one of the things that's fairly hard for him. This horse is fairly straight behind. And so getting those long, deep, overreaching steps can be a little difficult at times. This is a very big horse, by the way. You can see that now he fits in this arena, which is great because it took years to get him to be able to go in an arena like this. So we start off in the leg here, and this all starts very well. Now we'll see where this goes a little bit wrong, just for people furtering, as she starts to lead a little bit with the hindquarters right in here. So that would have been a fault. She should have kept the shoulder as the leading point until it hit the rail. And she kept it a little not overbent, but a little bit bent on the inside like she was in a shoulder in. Just to give you some factors that would be right or wrong about this. Now, obviously, this horse is working well over his back. There's one little moment in the test here where he just kind of has a little moment there where he comes off the bridle for a second. But other than that, this horse is quite consistently over his back, as you can all see. So now at this level, we're introducing the shoulder ins, which is actually, we're still calling it a shoulder 4, so we're not looking for a great deal of bend in these things yet. Now there's a little speeding up and slowing down there, so once again, that would have been an error in rhythm. And always remember, when we're talking about rhythm, we're talking about the 2 ends of the horse being in rhythm, not the speed at which the horse is going around the arena. We have to develop an eye for that, for whether or not, and of course that can only happen if the horse is working over its back. You'll only see the horse move absolutely evenly between the front and back if the horse is working over its back. Otherwise, you'll always see a lag time between the front legs and the back legs, which is especially apparent when we see the trot. And it was a better shoulder in that time. It led a little bit with the hindquarters towards the end of there, but that was better than the first one. But still a very good active rhythm. And it's interesting, when you see horses working over the backs in the walk, it isn't boring to watch them. When we see contemporary dressage tests today, most of them come to the walk, and the walks are usually somewhat lateral or stilted at best, and it becomes very almost annoying to watch them. But when you see a horse working correctly over its back in the walk, like you see this one, it's quite fascinating to watch, and it doesn't look like they're going in slow motion, like you want to keep saying, hurry up, and go. As you can see, this horse is covering quite a bit of ground with his walk. Now right there you can see he tenses just a little bit, doesn't stay over his back as well as I would like him to there at times, a little bit inconsistent. And so these are all things that we'd be looking at in terms of if we were looking for the perfect test, so to speak. So he makes this transition quite nicely. Now at this level the test may be ridden sitting or rising at the choice of the riders. Does a lengthening here, comes through, gets a little bit high-headed there, but he's still tracking through quite well behind. Makes the downwind transition very nicely there as he comes back to the working trot. Now, technically speaking, if we were going to talk about what the rider is doing, her hands are a little bit high at times. We've just jumped in here to do this, so we're not really in show mode here. But it's a couple of little things that she could improve by continuing to try to lower her hands just a little bit. But sometimes she's just keeping that horse right in the corner, the bit right in the corner of the horse's mouth, where you can stay in that nice consistent trot. You can see right there he gets a little high-headed, and that's where he gets a little bit off the bridle for 1 second. But comes back to another beautiful lengthening. So we want the test to always be opening and closing the horses. But you can see his level of relaxation, for the exception of that one little moment there, has been pretty exceptionally nice, and be able to maintain this level of impulsion that he's beginning to generate, that is energy that she can control and direct. It's just great to see this horse being able to work in an arena of this size now, and actually to be able to canter in it. So now we come to the stretch section in this one, and once again, remember, this is our championship test, and so this would be the one. Here we ask the riders to sit to the trot in the stretch, because remember the next level up here from this is going to be would be the working level at which you would be expected to be able to sit to the trot. So we bring this in as sort of an introduction to the sitting trot, if you will. Now that circle was a little not as round as it could be, so to speak, and he got a little high-headed. The stretch didn't stay as perfect as it might. So that would have been a little bit of a count off there. Now this is just working trot. Now that's a beautiful working trot. And also notice how by having these stretches in there and giving the horse really the time in the test to do these things correctly, how much better that trot looked. Now that's pretty exceptional working trot right there. That's starting to look really nice, where it's really coming up and starting to really lift the forehand off the ground that time. That's when you know they're really starting to connect over their backs, is when that front end really starts lifting off the ground from the thrust of the hind legs. But not just the knees. Once again, I'm always talking about the entire body lifting off the ground, not just the horse bringing its knees higher. Or even its legs thrown out, as we see in these ridiculous, exaggerated, extended trots that we see people doing, where they're bracing the horse's neck up against the shoulder and forcing the horse to do this Spanish trot type thing, where the horse throws its legs straight out. All that does is destroy your horse's legs, folks. This is what all of that stuff does, which is why dressage is not good. If the horse isn't over its back, it will do more harm than anything to your horse. Good working trot here before this transition. This has been the hardest thing with this horse, and it's really starting to have these transitions quite nice. Remember, he was a horse that he was a bolter when he came to us in the canter, so it's taken, and he's just so enormous that it really took a long time. But now he's at the point where he can get over his back and carry himself around this little arena. And he has a little break there, and of course that would be counted down a little bit, which is on the first circle here. Now in the second one, now he has the time to come back, make the transition. And this time we come all the way back to the walk. And we have that circle in order to do it, to give the horses plenty of time. With young horses at this level, foundation level, we expect them to start getting a little strong in the canter at this time, when they're not that super balanced over their backs. Remember, this is foundation level we're talking about here. So we come back to a walk just to prove the horse can come back to the walk and stay relaxed. And on this change of diagonal. What a beautiful walk this is now. And each time you notice how he keeps getting better and better as it goes on. Each time we come back to another stretch, the horse looks better. He looks more consistent. His neck looks more relaxed and in the right place. Now we come to the second canter work. She has a slight little resistance there, nothing terrible. And when we score things like resistance in horses, like that little bit on the bridle, there's a big difference in a horse that totally loses it and throws its head straight up in the air and drops its back, and one that just tries to get out of the bridle for a moment there. So all those things have to be taken in consideration. The worst fault, of course, is anything that ends up with the horse being stiff or hollow. So notice the circles in this direction have been a little better for this horse. A little rounder, it's a little easier in this direction for him. He's a big baby, this horse. He's just coming into collection quite well, but he's still like containing this giant ball of energy, which is what we want to do, and contain it on a very light rein, which you see him doing. And look how beautiful this last lengthening is. I mean, this is almost picture perfect. Notice how the hind leg is coming through at the same angle as the front legs and really lifting that front end up into the air. Makes a beautiful back last transition here to the walk. Just as he just kind of puts the landing gear. Watch what happens here. Very nice, just right into a supple walk and down the center line. So for Amber's first attempt at this test, I thought this was very good. Great job here by Amber on this World Dressage Federation Foundation level, which is level 1, test 6. This would be our championship level. Fantastic job by Amber here. We'll have the next ones up for you soon. Hope everybody's enjoying these. We're looking forward to being able to launch the World Dressage Federation and start having some shows. Great job by Amber here. Thanks again to all my people who've been helping so hard and working very hard at getting these things done and getting them videotaped, which seems like an easy thing, but is harder than it sounds. And thanks to Damien, to Damien and everybody who's helping out on the videotaping here. So Will Faber from Art to Ride. Look forward to seeing you guys all soon. Keep up the great work. And look forward to seeing you all riding these tests very soon. Now we're going to go through the test again, this time scoring it. Amber and Legolas, riding World Dressage Federation Level 1 Test 6. A, enter at the working walk. Proceed down center line to X. X, halt, salute. Straight on center line. 6. Proceed working walk. C, track to the right. Good halt and relaxation. 8. MXK, change rein, lengthening the stride, allowing the horse to stretch forward and down. Loss of rhythm on the turn. 5. Horse could stretch a little deeper and have a little more overreach in the K, walk. Working walk. 5. A, turn down center line. At L, leg yield right, arriving at the rail between R and M. Good quality in the working walk. 7. A little loss of rhythm and starts to lead too much with the hindquarters. M to H, 5. Working walk. H to E, shoulder 4. Loses a little rhythm, 6 in the working walk.
E to F, change rein on diagonal.
Not enough position of the shoulder off the rail. A little loss of rhythm. Five.
A, turn down center line. At L, leg yield left, arriving at the rail between S and H.
Much better rhythm and position.
H to
7.
M, working walk. M to B, shoulder 4.
Some minor loss of rhythm. 6. Better shoulder 4.
B to K, change rein on diagonal.
But falls back to the rail with his shoulder. A little unsteady in the bridle.
Between K and A, develop working trot.
5.
F to M, lengthen the stride.
Needed to step up a little more actively in that transition. 5.
M to H, working trot.
A little unsteady in the rhythm. 6.
H to E, shoulder in.
7 for the working trot between M and H.
E to F, change rein.
A little better shoulder 4.
Continue working trot to K.
Still some losses of rhythm. 6.
K to H, lengthen the stride.
Resistance in the working trot. 4.
H to M, working trot.
Better lengthening. 6.
M to B, shoulder in.
Good quality in the working trot. 7.
B to K, change rein.
Better
Continue
shoulder
working
4.
trot to A.
7.
A, circle left 20 meters 2 times, allowing the horse to stretch forward and downward. Sit to the trot in the stretch.
6
then
on the
ride
chain,
and
some loss
develop
of
the
rhythm.
working trot.
Could stretch a little more deeply and maintain the activity. 5 on the first circle.
FXH,
A little unsteady in the sitting trot.
change
5.
rein. Continue working trot to C.
Better
C,
lengthening
circle
that time,
right
though
20
could come a
meters,
little quicker.
2 times,
7.
allowing the horse to stretch forward and downward. Sit to the trot in the stretch, then develop working trot.
Good balance in the stretch. Could be a little bit deeper. 6.
C to B, working trot.
A little unsteady in the sitting trot. 6.
B, circle right 20 meters, developing the working canter in the second half of the circle.
C to B in the trot. 6. Some loss of rhythm.
B to A working canter.
A little bit of resistance in the upwards transition, 6.
A, circle right 20 meters twice. Circle 1, working canter. Circle 2, transition through the trot to the walk.
Breaks in the working canter to A, 4. Circle not round, but fairly good quality in the canter, 6. Transition 6 into the walk.
KXM, change rein, working walk. Between M and C,
Unsteady in the rhythm,
develop working
5.
trot.
Little
E,
hesitant in the
circle
upwards
left 20
transition,
meters,
5.
developing the working canter in the second half of the circle.
A little unsteady in the upwards
E
transition,
to C, working canter.
5.
C, circle right 20 meters twice. Circle 1, working canter. Circles 2, transition to the working trot.
First circle a little unsteady in the beginning, but improves, 6.
FXH,
Loses the quality of the
lengthen
circle
stride in the working trot,
and the downwards transition, a little hesitant, 4.
and change the rein.
Better lengthening of stride, 7.
Continue in the working trot. Between P and F, working walk.
Better quality in that working trot between H and P, 7. Good downwards transition.
A, down the center line.
8.
X, halt, salute.
Good quality, but jigs a little in the walk, into the halt, and off of the center line, 5.
Dismount, stand quietly for a moment. You may reward your horse. Take the reins over the horse's head and leave the arena leading the horse at its shoulder.
And he stayed nice and relaxed throughout, though moved a little bit, but stayed relaxed throughout. Rider should have the reins in both hands exiting the arena, 7. Now let's talk about the collective marks for this test as it plays behind us there. Horse's correct level of physical development for the level entered. He's able to do most things quite well and easily here throughout this test. He has a little bit resistive. There's a little bit of loss of rhythm here and there and in transitions, but seems quite well developed for the level of work that he's doing here. So we're going to give him a 7 on that. Now that would have improved if we had seen if we had not seen so many little changes of rhythm and changes of frame and just those little slight resistances. Those add a bit to those collective marks in terms of what we're going to count off, because we're looking for that perfection. So we're going to call that a 7 for his correct level of development. So you kind of think of it this way. 5 would mean sort of sufficient. If you got a 4 on that, you mean he would have no business being in this level. But he's quite able to do it. But though there's improved movement, movement that can be made there in terms of improving his scores by that all just being a little more consistent. Harmony between horse and rider, and here we see the same thing. The rider, we could see her working what seemed to be a little too hard with her legs at times. You can see her legs bouncing on the side of the horse a little bit. Now, sometimes that can be the effect of horse and rider together. Amber is not real tall, and this is a very big horse, and the way her leg hangs on him, he's always had a difficulty bouncing, but I don't know that. So as a judge, I can't say to myself, oh, well, you know, she's having a bad day, or it's because of her height, or this kind of thing. You know, I have to look at what I see here. So harmony between horse and rider, and we saw those little moments. Now he does come back very quickly to her, but those moments where he's breaking the rhythm, trying to come out of the bride a little bit, these kinds of things all affect that. But we're going to give her a 7 on that. Once again, 5 would mean that it was sufficient. You know, it was a little better than just sufficient, but because it got marked down because of all her movements, her hands being too high at times, too much movement in her legs. And then we come to the rider's correct level of physical. I'm sorry, that's what we just did, and that's a 7. So basically, she got 7, 7, and 7. The last mark is for artistic impression, and remember that what most affects the artistic impression, it's like seeing a painting that looks perfect and there's splotches here and there that distract it. That's kind of what it is. So every little change of rhythm, every change of frame, every little resistance breaks the viewer's ability to just let themselves go and watch it and have the experience of watching it. So it's all those kinds of things. So because of all those little losses of rhythm, little losses of frame, those little moments where he tries to come off the bit in the upwards transitions, these kind of things, for a moment, even though she gets it back very quickly, those things would be considered distracting, and that would affect mostly the artistic impression. So if we're looking on a scale of 1 to 10, of 10 being the best and 5 being sufficient for the level, we might want to think of it that way. I think what we'd have to do is give her a 6 on this. That was it was better than just getting by, but once again, it's that refining that last little bit that'll bring these performances and the artistic score up to 7s, 8s, and 9s and onward. So there we go. So this is Will Faber from Art to Ride. I hope you enjoyed this. We want to thank Amber again for being such a good sport and riding this for us with very little preparation. But it gives us a good opportunity. If the rides were perfect, you know, that we're seeing here right away, it would might be a little distracting to see how we mark the scores down. In other words, it's good for you guys educationally to see the difficulties people have had and see how hard it is to actually, you know, make those scores begin to creep up into the 7s and 8s on the test. So great work, Amber. We appreciate it. I hope this helps everybody else. I look forward to seeing some of your tests very soon. Will Faber from Art to Ride.